All right, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope y'all are having a great day, and I've got a little bit of audio challenges, so please give me just a moment to fix that. But once I get that sorted, we will be talking about... Where's that even coming from? That is fascinating. Aha. All right, folks. Welcome again. Excuse that brief audio glitch. I'm trying something brand new today. I'm going to be streaming this to both LinkedIn and to YouTube. So there may be a couple of little hiccups that occur. My apologies in advance if that happens. So if you hear me talking twice or something like that, I'm making sure the audio comes through good for y'all. So hopefully you can hear me, but please let me know if you experience any challenges, any glitches, any trouble, and I'll do my best to fix them. And to the folks who are joining us from LinkedIn, welcome. All right. We're here to talk about using Confluence for meetings. I shared in LinkedIn a story where I literally fell asleep in a meeting about a general ledger in finance. This was earlier in my career. My head almost hit the table. It was a very bad thing. And so after that, I tried to find ways to make sure that I didn't fall asleep in meetings, because I'm told that is a very bad thing. So here we're going to talk about some ways we can use Confluence and some tricks that it has that can help us avoid, well, I'll say falling asleep in meetings, but some different ways that the system can help us keep track of what's going on, can share what we know, and make sure that we're engaged and active in meetings. Now, many of you have already found the chat. I'll talk a little bit about that. For the folks on LinkedIn, I think you need to just comment on the event. I'll do my best to keep an eyeball on it and call out your questions and comments as well. So now that I'm mostly all set up here, let me just grab my beautiful slide deck. And welcome to everyone in the chat. I'll also be doing my best to catch questions and then answer them all towards the end if they don't directly relate to what we're talking about now, just based on some feedback I've heard from some folks. So if I don't immediately jump on questions, don't worry, I'll do my best to record them. All right, folks, a quick way of introduction. Oh, and I don't have my little tiny head. There we go. My name is Rob. I have been using Confluence for 12 years, 11 years, somewhere in there. I started using it because I was forced to. When I showed up at a job, I asked, what is our knowledge base? And someone just pointed at a logo on the screen and said, it's that. And they walked away. And that was all of my training. Many of you have probably heard this story, and many of you probably have a very similar, if not exactly identical story. And that is why I do these live learnings. I want to help other people avoid that experience of learning by doing. And I can get rid of that message. There we go. I like to learn by doing. I can make the time to do that, and I have the energy. Invite with Lino, welcome. Sarah, no worries, glad you're here. So I do a lot of these live learnings on different topics around systems. And my fun fact today is, again, I almost fell asleep in that finance meeting. It was very long and very boring. I apologize to folks who use general ledgers and all that. My mind is just not built to handle those or understand them. And especially when I was younger, it wasn't the most energizing experience. And let me just check in on my friends over here. On LinkedIn and see if they are getting my screen. I think they might only be seeing my talking head. I'll keep an eye on my friends on LinkedIn. Now, a quick way to interact if you're on YouTube, please use the chat. It's over my left shoulder on the right. Many of you have found it already. I will use it to ask questions. For the folks on LinkedIn, Sarah, I'm just going to grab your question, save it. For the folks on LinkedIn, I believe you have to use comments within the LinkedIn event. So I'll be doing my best to keep an eyeball on both so I don't miss them. So please drop in your questions. I'll do my best to answer them now, or if I need to, some kind of follow-up, whether that's a blog post or a live video. We do need this page updated to cover LinkedIn, Rodney. Thank you. As I mentioned, I'm live streaming to LinkedIn and seeing how that works. So thank you for the folks there listening. And please let me know what other ways you think I can improve all of this goes. On the YouTube side, if you like this, please like and subscribe and share. On the LinkedIn side, I believe this will be saved as an event link. Please share that with other people. I guarantee you someone else you work with or someone you know can benefit from this. Again, many people aren't trained in how to use Confluence, and the more we can learn, the more perspective we can get, the stronger we become, like the more power we can build up. So a quick agenda, we're going to talk about Confluence. We're going to be in Confluence Cloud Premium, but almost everything I show you, I don't have anything planned that is not available in every flavor of cloud, but I'll do my best to call out. The biggest difference would be Atlassian Intelligence. So if I talk about that, that will only be on Premium and Enterprise Cloud. Otherwise, the templates, how I take notes, how I use things like action items and decisions and collaborate should be available across every different flavor of LinkedIn. Beth, welcome from Maryland. And then we'll get hands-on. I'll talk about some things. I'll briefly talk about calendars in Confluence, which is a feature that I have honestly never used, so it's interesting to learn about. And then about tweaking templates, adding meeting notes, and how we can use Confluence to track things like follow-ups. I'll also slip in some information on automations, some ways that I've used it to automate the process of taking notes. So my first question for the group, do you use Confluence templates? Specifically for pages, because I understand templates can exist in a couple of different spots. And I'm going to go check on our friends over in LinkedIn and see what that looks like. And Rodney, I do ask how is Confluence, just not nearly as much as I ask what is Confluence. Liz uses templates. They're another great example of a tool that I did not, I knew existed, but I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't know how to manage it, modify it, handle it. And that resulted in some challenges, I'll say. Rodney, dangerously so, okay? Now, for those of us unfamiliar, they are just pre-formatted pages, essentially. So when I go into a meeting, I can start with a blank page. That is completely okay. However, I have found having some kind of structure around it makes it a lot more useful and powerful. It reminds me to add certain information. It makes it more visually pleasing. If I need to share it and present it, it makes it easier for other folks to understand and see what's going on. Now, Confluence comes with, in this screenshot, 144 templates. And this is just out of the box. I didn't have to add anything. I didn't have to download anything, etc. If you're on Data Center, you'll probably have a different list because the nice people at Atlassian keep adding them. Beth, you stole what I do, which is using one for meeting notes, and I'll talk about the meeting notes template quite a bit today, and also how I modify it. Now, the important thing to know about a template is they exist within a space in Confluence, and a space is just a way to organize content. You might have a space for a project you're working on. You might have a space for a department. You might have your own personal space that you use just to store your own information and keep it in one spot. So there can be different spaces, but each template you use lives in one single space and is managed by a space administrator. And this is important when we think about meetings and using templates because we can change templates, we can modify them. Now, there's two main ways to find them. One is in the UI, the user interface, and the UI changed recently. I don't know when the full rollout has been done, but there's now a templates option, and I'll show you where that lives when we get live and hands-on in Confluence Cloud Premium. And then also when you're creating a page, you'll have the option to go look at templates. So they live in a couple spots. I didn't know they lived in the UI for a while. I tripped over them building a page, and I just got stuck in using the page. So I'll share different ways we can do this. There's no best or right or perfect way. There is just different ways to use it. But keep in mind you can find them in different spots, and there are ways to filter and search through them. And Dave uses I won't call it a cheat code, but Dave is saying that he doesn't use a Confluence template, but he has the same outline, he just pastes it in. I do that as well. There's nothing wrong with that. The challenge is if we don't use a Confluence template and someone else wants to do what we do, it's a lot harder. So I'll show you how we can put these into Confluence so other people on our team can use them, and also make sure that they're shared and more easily available. Liz, I'll jump back to your question in a little bit. I'm just going to copy it here. Can we use the import option? Let me just write that down. Now, I mentioned we can change templates. This is important when we think of how we work, like each individual operates. There is a default template for meeting notes. However, you might not like it, or you might have different things like Dave, for example, has his own template that he essentially just copies and pastes between pages. Maybe he doesn't want to use the meeting notes template. Maybe he wants to make up his own. You can do that. Now, it does require you to be a space administrator, and this can be frustrating if you don't have that access, but it's a great opportunity to go learn and meet someone. Once you do that, though, I always recommend tweak your template. I do this with my meeting notes template on maybe a quarterly basis. I take a look at it and I say, hey, does this do what I need? And what could it do better? So constantly challenging myself to figure out like what's going on with this. But once you have it set up, it can meet exactly the needs that you need. Dave, you're kind of stealing my ideas here, man. So again, I'll encourage you when you find a template, it can be a starting point for you for your meeting notes. It can be this one that comes straight out of Confluence. And what we're seeing is the meeting notes template. And I'll walk us through this template, why I like it, but then also how we can tweak it and some things we can do around it to make it more useful or better for us. Frank, thank you for jumping in and helping Liz out. I'll remind folks in the chat, if you can help someone else out in the chat, please jump in. Let them know what's going on. Or if you have a good answer or a good idea or method of working that might help them, please feel free to share. Now, the meeting notes template is my personal favorite template. It gives me a very easy structure, and I just use it in every meeting. It's to the point where I go into a meeting and I just automatically open up a new meeting notes template. This makes it easy for me in the meeting because I don't have to think about where do I put the list of participants. I don't have to think about, hey, where am I going to be tracking this other information? It's just all in the same spot every single time. And that's important for my meeting notes process because then I don't have to wonder, hey, where should I add this information? Hey, where are the links to other information? It's all always in the same spot. So that repeatability for me is very important, and it's something that Confluence gives me through this template. Now, I also set these up before the meeting, and I'll show us a way we can do this auto-magically for recurring meetings. Kaithra, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. So I will go through before a meeting, especially if it's a more important one, and I will fill out certain things like the participants or the goals or the resources or the topics, just so when I jump into the meeting, I don't have to struggle with that. I just stuff it in there. I don't have to worry about it. It lets me focus on listening and paying attention to what's happening and not fighting with my note-taking tool. And that's something that helps me in meetings. The reason I started taking meeting notes was to not fall asleep. Thinking back to that finance meeting where my head almost hit the desk, if I'm actively thinking and engaging and wondering what's happening, that helps keep me active and engaged. And I can do that by filling out parts of this template in advance. Robert's got a great question about AI notes. Robert, if you could provide a little bit more clarity, I'm going to copy off that question and make sure I answer it towards the end. But there are options within Confluence to automate large portions of this that I'll talk about when we get hands-on. For the purpose of this, though, this would be all manual notes. I prefer manual notes right now compared to AI tools like Loom or any of the other ones because it forces me to be active. And that's just how I work. That's how my brain keeps going. If I'm typing out what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and experiencing, that helps keep me engaged. And that's not for everybody. Different people work differently, and that's awesome. But just for me, if I'm actively doing that, even with the AI note, that's very helpful. So our next question is, how do you track action items? James, I'm glad I'm not alone. A part of it, honestly, was I was younger. It was early in my career. I didn't understand how a GL could be structured or why it was important. And it was also like the fifth time we had the same meeting because we kept having team members join. And so it was very tiring for me, which again, I know is not the best thing. Uh, Dave. So while y'all are considering this question, Dave has a good point. Um, I forget the order of how well humans remember things, but writing something, especially by hand, helps cram information into your brain. And this is a little bit off topic, but when I study for a certification exam, which I'm doing for the ACA 915 right now, I will keep handwritten notes, and I've got a notebook right next to my computer because that helps my brain get information better. Again, that is just me though. So I'm just sharing different ways this can work. I'm not telling you this is the only way, but I'll encourage you to experience and try different methods. Now, action items are an important thing in meetings, and some folks have mentioned AI, which is awesome. Um, Robert's mentioning using AI notes. We'll talk about Loom soon, Robert. Thank you for bringing it up. But during the meeting, we'll have people mention, okay, Kaithra, you're going to handle the technical editing of this and get something back to us by Friday. I'm just picking names out of chat. Liz, you're going to handle, working with the finance team to make their general ledger more exciting. Dave, you're going to, bring coffee, whatever the meeting notes are. During the meeting, you'll have to record these action items. And I'm a project manager, so my role is typically the person who's following up and making sure that works. Um, and Confluence lets us do that with this feature called action items. I'll show us a couple of different ways to add these, but when I'm writing meeting notes, especially in bigger meetings, these will be all over the page. As I'm typing, I am just adding them as I go because I want to capture it. Now, after the meeting, I might go back and reorganize things, but the purpose and the point during the call is to make sure I'm typing all these things down. No one saw that, Dave. Um, so action items let us record, well, shockingly, action items, but it also lets us assign them to people. You'll see Robert Heen here has an at mention, and also we can assign due dates. And so within Confluence, we can have a lightweight task tracking system that can make it easier for us to track these smaller action items. Frank, actually, coffee is P1 for me. I've got my little Atlassian Premium Week mug here, and I can almost see the bottom. I'm very scared. Thank you, Dave. If anyone would like to be an official channel coffee sponsor, please let me know. I would love to talk to you. Scott, you are stealing my thunder here, my friend. Now, action items are great in Confluence, and I'll show us this live because we can report on them. I don't think I have a slide on this, but I'll show us it when we get into Premium. But there's a couple ways to add these action items. One is through the UI bar. You can click this button. Another way is as a macro with a /, and that's the question mark key on my keyboard. Now, even better, there's a keyboard shortcut. If you look at these screenshots, these brackets, the open close bracket right next to each other, when you're typing, can also insert one of these. And this can make it very easy and very quick and simple action item to make sure you can add it, but also it makes sure you don't have to go up to the action bar or stop and type in a long word. So just as I'm typing, I'll just do open bracket, close bracket, space. Dave said he would be my coffee sponsor by Tuesday the 15th. Hit enter and keep typing. So for me in my workflow, it doesn't interrupt what I'm doing. I can just keep going. And that for me is important because as I'm taking notes, I try not to think, and that sounds bad, but I'm trying just to be a conduit for information, and I'm just the person who's like slamming the keys. And so the less I have to move my hand to my mouse or think about where is that button or, hey, what macro do I type in, the better. And so this shortcut has been very helpful for me, especially in big meetings or, important or anxiety-provoking ones, because it's much easier just to type in. Now, kind of tying back to Scott's comment about this task report thing, we can assign action items. So again, I might assign Dave, go be my coffee sponsor. That's great. It shows up on the meeting notes page. However, they're also going to get a notification, and it will add this task to their homepage as well as different macros. So something I frequently do is set up a page that just tracks all the open tasks in a space or by label, and I'll talk about those when we go live. Excuse me. But I can assign these tasks and people can then track them in Confluence. So again, it's a way of lightweight, like project management almost, but it's just tasks. Excuse me. So I use it in the moment, and later I might flip them into Jira tickets. And there's a very easy integration to create a Jira work item from a Confluence task. Frank is pointing out, and this is a good call out, if you make a Confluence work item or a Jira work item out of this, it won't automatically complete the task. So this is not making like a Jira ticket that syncs in both directions. This is just a feature in Confluence that is very easy to use and lets us track these action items in the moment. So next question, and this is one that has bitten me before. How do you record how do you record decisions made during meetings? I clearly need a technical editor here. Excuse me. This is another important area for me along with those action items. Who is expected to do what after this? But when we decide something in a meeting, we need to record that. I have been in environments where we ended a meeting and everyone decided on a course of action, and then 3 weeks later, someone swore till they were blue in the face. No, we didn't decide that. Why did you build it that way? And we had to go back through and find our notes and say, hey, because you told us to, or because we agreed on this. And that was very painful. We had to watch Zoom recordings. Oh yeah, Rob said this is what we would do. So instead, I've started just recording decisions and who makes them during the meeting. And that's just objective truth. This happened. It's not to say, I'll pick on Dave. Hey, Dave, you said we do this. It's your fault. It's just to say, hey, the group decided this is our path forward. Rodney's trying to get me to say the word illustration for some reason. I don't know why. I've had minute takers interns. For some reason, Liz gets interns. How do we get interns, Liz? So Confluence has this function that records decisions. It's a macro, or an extra bit of functionality on a page. But it adds this gray bar to the page, and it will record and track something. So I will put information in here like, we decided Dave is going to be the official coffee sponsor. Or, Liz said Dave is the official coffee sponsor, something like that. And that tells me who decided it and what the decision was. And this is important because later we're going to have challenges if we forget the decisions. And a decision could be anything: where to have lunch, which vendor to go with, how much budget to allocate. The decision doesn't matter itself. It's more recording the fact that we as a group made this decision so we can then go look at it later and we can find it. And that's the important part of these. Sorry, Liz, I thought you were referencing your own comment there where I should be selling my soul to whoever Dodd is. I'm pretty sure I wasn't in that meeting. Dave, that's where we're going to talk about recording our meeting participants and the importance of that. Dave puts decisions in notes and shares the notes. Wow. Sorry, I'm just kind of gobsmacked is the wrong term. Had a boss who would get signatures on paper from meeting notes. This kind of goes just outside of Confluence, but I will make these notes and I will mention people on them as participants. And then I will also, because then they'll get a notification through Confluence. Hey, you were mentioned in here. And I will also then copy and paste in or add as a PDF to a follow-up email, depending on the meeting. And I'll tell people, hey, this is what was decided. Please let me know if I missed anything. And so I kind of put the ball in their court. I would email, let's see, Liz, your name's right there, and say, hey, this is what we decided about Dave being the official coffee sponsor. And Liz would look at that, and if they don't respond, I can interpret that as, yes, that's, they agree. Depending on the meeting, I'll also add a note saying, if I don't hear back from you, I'll assume this is accurate, or something like that. Now, the wet ink, the term wet ink means like taking a pen and signing a piece of paper, is another step. And I could see, depending on the decision, that also being something needed. Like, okay, team, we're at the end of the meeting. I'm going to print off these meeting notes and you're all going to sign them saying you agree to these notes. If you don't agree, we'll change them. But we need to make sure that this is true and accurate. I haven't had to go to wet ink in a while, fortunately. But then again, most of the time the environments I'm in aren't as intense, I might say, that might require that. So there's two ways to add action items. There's a macro called the decision macro, and that's the / and the word decision. But again, I'm lazy. I don't want to move my hand. So there's another keyboard shortcut. It's the open. I actually don't know what those symbols are called. Does anyone know what that symbol is called? The greater than or less than sign. I'm just thinking back to like middle school math for me. But I don't know if there's a technical name, open caret, close caret. Um, if you do these two together and then a space, it will insert a decision. So again, in a meeting, I'm not going to go down to the decision section and type it in and go back. I'm just going to be typing, typing, typing. Okay, Liz got to it first. These are now called Pac-Man mouths. Rodney, that's much less entertaining than Pac-Man mouths. So our next question is, how do you collaborate in meetings? Liz, the squiggle is the tilde. Peter, the umlaut is the two dots above an O or a U, typically. Ivelios, I read that as angel brackets. I might call them Pac-Man mouths or angel brackets, just because I misread your angle brackets. Thank you. Now, during a meeting, typically I'm the only one who cares to record notes. And this for me is fascinating because I did some consulting work for a while. And when I was in a meeting once, I took notes and I shared them around. And later I heard people saying, Rob, he's this amazing value add, and he's bringing so much energy and value. And I asked them, what do you mean? They said, you took notes. I was like, yeah. Like, to me, it wasn't a big deal. But having that ability to take notes and share them was massive. So usually I'm the only person taking them. That said, sometimes we want other people to jump in and collaborate. And that's where Confluence can be very helpful. And there's different ways we can collaborate. And folks on LinkedIn, please use the comments in the event to chat. I think if you just drop a comment down here in the add a comment section, I'll put in one myself just to prompt some. Only one taking notes. If you are the only one taking notes, you give a lot of value. It's a rare skill for some reason, and it's something that can help like open a lot of doors and improve what people think about you. Now, the most how do I want to put this? The most in-depth way to collaborate together is to do collaborative editing, and this is where multiple people edit one document. Now, I don't have live docs turned on in my instance, I don't think, but this is a new beta feature where multiple people can edit, and those changes are immediate. And that's the easiest way to collaborate. You might have 2 or 3 people in a big meeting all taking notes together, and then later sort them out. However, even with a regular page, if you're editing and you share the URL, and you can see all my old BuzzFeed links, the cutest animals, 13 simple steps to do something, 13 teachable something whatevers. I need to clean up my menu bar. If you grab this edit link and share it, if they have access to the space, they can come edit with you. And so that can be great. Kaithra, I used to be typing 120 words per minute. I played an online game called Dragon Realms. It was all text-based, and if you didn't want to get eaten by the dragon, you had to type really fast and be really accurate. And I think that kind of bled into note-taking. I'm not nearly as fast anymore. But yeah, it's great that you're called in because you have the skills. You can have up to 10 people live editing or collaboratively editing. I don't recommend 10 people doing this, but having 2 or 3 people, depending on the meeting, can be very beneficial. Frank, I'm going to grab that question and answer it right at the end about your RSVP. Another way to collaborate is just to @mention. This one seems kind of simple, but when we think of our meeting, like it's a point in time, and someone maybe missed part of it, or maybe they had to leave early or something. You can help them out, and you can @mention them and say, "Hey, Dave, remember you said you would be the coffee sponsor?" So it's a great reminder. I also put in comments for myself. Kaithra, we need to talk, my friend. I've never met anyone who has heard of that game, and I have a lot of nostalgia around it. I'll get back on topic, though. So @mentioning someone is just, shift to the @ symbol in their name. I will do this for Followup. Like, hey, Liz, remember to let me know about this add-on. Hey, Frank, here is the answer to your question. Or I'll @mention myself for something that I need to go do or remember. Dave, my friend, you mentioned you would be the coffee sponsor. Everyone saw it. Someone was taking meeting notes and there was a decision made. So I'm sorry, my friend, you're just stuck. Now, comments are another way to collaborate. And it's like Command-Shift-M. I'll see if I can remember the hotkey live. But I will add in comments mostly for follow-up. And I'll do this to myself instead of a task sometimes. I don't know if it's the best way to do this, but I will typically do this if it's someone outside of the meeting. So if, let's say, Dave wasn't in the meeting and we were talking about this, I might mention Dave to say, hey, here's what's going on. The Hercules and Xena mud. Yeah, I never played that one, Kyther, but that one rings some bells. I got in trouble with my mom for playing some online game. It was like $5 an hour, and the AOL bill was astronomical. That was terrible. Dave, we don't require wet ink signatures, my friend, so you didn't. Now, these comments can be good and bad. I found them useful, again, if someone wasn't in the meeting or had to leave early, but I have to remember to follow up on them. And that's where I tend to fail. I forget that there's the comment. So if you use comments, just remember to review them or double check. And that's part of the follow-up, is to make sure you go back and review the notes that we'll talk about. Rodney, I am definitely going to implement that idea, my friend. I do have a selfish ask, though, and I need y'all's help. I do a lot of these online learnings, and I will keep coming up with ideas, and I absolutely love coming up with these ideas. But I'm curious what feedback you have on how they're going, on what topics you want to learn, or how I can make these better for you. Some examples include, saving questions until a point at the end so we can keep going through the content, and I'm starting to play with that. Others include, love your feedback. I'll try not to type and talk at the same time and trip over my everything. Others include adding a quiz to my certification training, so I'm starting to build those out. But if you could take a moment and hit this Google form in this QR code or this link, and just let me know your thoughts. And again, I want to make sure that these are useful to you. If there's topics you want me to dig into more, if there are topics I shouldn't dig into, or other ways I can help you out, please take a moment. It's 4 quick questions. I would love to hear from you. Also, I do have a Discord server. We've got about 120 folks in it right now. And this is intended for live chat and support during the week or whenever. And I'll put this in both the chats. But we've got a great group in there sharing information, asking questions, and supporting each other. We've had some folks go through different certifications. They've shared their success, which has been amazing to see. And other folks coming up with some interesting add-ons for managing things. Caffeine. Oh, Frank, I'm going to steal that word now. Borrow it. All right, folks, we are in Confluence. And again, this is a Confluence Cloud Premium instance, but everything I show you should work in every flavor of Confluence and should work in Data Center. I'm unaware of anything I'm going to show you that differs. I'm going to start by showing you how to find your space admin. And I'm going to show you this because that is the person who can help you modify templates. So to do this, I'm just going to open up my space, and this is the new UI. So my spaces are on the left. I'm going to find the space I want the template in, and then click on this 3 dots. And I'm going to look for space settings. Now, everyone can see this. If you are a space admin, you will see a lot more stuff. However, everyone's going to see this section. Oop, I lied. Under General, did they move it again? Oh, this is going to drive me nuts. I like the new UI personally. It is driving me nuts because I keep forgetting the differences. But we're looking for this space admin section. And if I click View Admins, I'll see a list of whoever the admins are. Any one of these people can help me modify templates or make new ones. So if you ever need help in Confluence, this is the first place to go. Someone in IT, information technology, may also be able to help you. So if you don't know where to go, talk to your IT department. But if you can find this space admin section under space settings, those people also have access. Now, to go edit them, I'm going to go into look and feel and find templates. And this is a list of every template in the space. So I have a whole other training just on templates. So I'm quickly just going to command find meeting note. And I can see here there's a weekly meeting notes. I'm going to quickly just restore it to default. I'm going to edit it. And this should be what everyone who's using Cloud will see. And that is not the meeting notes that I wanted. And this is another thing that drives me crazy. It's this one. The meeting notes blueprint, I think. Let me go edit this one. All right. This is the meeting notes template I use quite a bit. Now, by quite a bit, I mean multiple times every single day. I can see that it's got a section for the date, and that's going to automatically pull in the date. I've got participants. Something I didn't really talk about is tracking them. I'll just mention them in the document. So I'll create one of these in a moment, and I'll pretend we're in this meeting about coffee. Goals for the meeting. Personally, I don't fill this in, and that's probably bad. But this is where, I'd list out, we're going to talk about the general ledger, or we're going to build alignment for this. Frank is reminding me, thank you, Frank. A quick reminder for the group, this template only exists in the Heen text space. Now, there is a copy of this template in another space that will look identical, but if I change this one, it only changes the one in the Heen text space. This drives a lot of people insane because they will make a template that looks great to them, and then someone in a different space won't see it. Now, a org admin, someone who has administrative power over Confluence, can create a global template that's available anywhere. So this should be something that if you find this very useful and your team does, talk to your IT team, they probably own Confluence, and ask them to add a global template so everyone in your organization can see it without having to struggle or search for it. There are ways around that. However, if you make it a global template, that's the term, it's easiest, it's just available. Now, they did insert this bit about whiteboards, and they did insert this bit about related materials recently. So this template has been updated by the nice people at Confluence in the past month or so. Discussion topics. I don't track time and presenter, honestly. So what we're going to do live is we're going to modify this blueprint to make it a little bit more useful for me. Down at the bottom, it does come with action items and decisions. And this is something to be careful of. When you're taking meeting notes, you're probably going to be cramming them in this table. And that's where the trick of using, open bracket, close bracket space lets you insert the action item. So don't worry about having to come down to action items during the meeting. Typically, I'll just put them in wherever and then review and update the document afterwards. Kyther's got a great point here. You should know who your admins are at your organization. So ask around and just keep in mind, oh, Kyther's my admin. Oh, Liz is my space admin. I've met a lot of great friends that way and a lot of great relationships, and I've learned a ton just by knowing who these people are. So we're going to modify this because this one doesn't make sense to me. Personally, I don't care about recording the time. I don't do minutes, so I'm just going to delete the column. I'm going to get rid of presenter. Okay, that looks a bit cleaner to me. This bit at the top also bothers me. It takes up so much space vertically. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to add a quick layout. And again, this is just how I, Rob, like to structure my template. And this is something I'll go look at every 4 months, just to make sure it still makes sense to me. Or if I realize during a meeting it bothers me that goals is there and I never fill that in, after the meeting I'll go in and just make changes. So please take a minute to come in here and tweak what you see, because that'll be very helpful when you are in the meeting taking these notes. Now I'm going to go find it. Not the weekly meeting notes, Rob. Here we go. So it's been edited. Blueprints are templates provided by Atlassian. So pretty much everything in here was given to us by Atlassian. Way up at the top, you may also have custom templates. I tend to modify the blueprint, the provided meeting notes template, just because it's in there and it's in every Confluence I've ever used. But you could create a new one from scratch. So that's another thing you could consider. I'm going to back out to my space. And I'm going to start by thinking through my meeting process. So I have this beautiful template that I really like. And I went the wrong direction here. I'm sorry. But now I want to consider, hey, I've got a regular meeting every Monday about trying to figure out, how we should work on this caffeine thing. And I'm using the word that Frank just invented for us. Maybe every Monday I have this meeting. I'm a very lazy person. I could come up here and click create, make a page every single time. And so I could hit create, or I could click my little plus. Maybe I can't click create. What's going on here? There we go. Make a page. And then down at the bottom, I have this option for all templates. This is a little bit different from when I started using Confluence, but I'll click on all templates and I'll see everything. And then I can just search for my meeting notes. And as I put my mouse over them, I'll see what they look like. And I can pick the one I want. Now, I tend to hit the little star, and that will make it a favorite of mine. And I'll see it up under my templates now. And then I'll just click meeting notes to insert it. What is TJL? Rodney is cross-promoting his channel, The Jira Life. For those of you who don't know Rodney, this individual, he is the Jira guy, very knowledgeable on Jira. He's my go-to when I have questions, and I'm really happy he's here to share his knowledge. He's also hanging out in our Discord, so if you all have questions on Jira specifically, but also other things, he's an amazing resource. And he's got I'll call it a talk show, Rodney, on Jira and other topics. So that's TJL. If you see that pop in there. So here's my meeting notes. So at the start of a meeting, I would turn this on and I would quickly add participants. I've got Rodney, I've got Liz. If I can mention them, I would. I don't know if they're in this instance or not, Rodney. Nope, you are not. So I'd fill out my participants very quickly. I would give it a name because you'll notice it starts with the date. And if I have multiple meetings in a day, this doesn't help. So I'll call this coffee sponsor. I guess, Dave, you should be in here. There we go. And then as people are talking, I'll just be slamming in notes. Who's the sponsor? Dave. Dave said he'd do it. And now I need a decision. We all decided. So I could do a / in the word decision, and I get this gray bar. And now if I hit enter, I can add another decision. And then another, and another, and another. For the purpose of this example, though, I might just be typing, and then we keep talking about a different topic. So I'd go down to my next line, delete the decision, and then tab down to the next item. Why is Dave the sponsor? He volunteered. He's a great guy. And I would just keep going. Now, I mentioned this trick for putting in action items. Up at the top, there's this little tiny checkbox. So I could click that, and that will insert one. I could do a / in the word action item. Or if I'm being super lazy, open bracket, close bracket, and a space. And those are the two buttons next to the letter P on my keyboard. So again, I like to type them just so I don't have to move my mouse or think, what am I doing? And then I can add the action item, Dave to sponsor coffee. And now if I'm being really smart, I'm going to put in a date. So if I do a double / and hit enter, that will insert this little date lozenge where I can pick, oh, it's the 20th. And that's my action item. And if I hit enter, I can add another one. Now I'm going to add one for myself just because I know this will show up in my task tracker. Follow up with Dave on coffee. I'll add a date. There we go, July 5th. And then I would just keep going. Now in this template at the bottom, it's got a section for action items and decisions. I've found that when I use this, I'm more interested in typing down what happened in recording the meeting than I am in putting it in the right spot. So after the meeting, I might come in here and clean this up. I might grab these decisions and copy paste them to the bottom. So they're in the decisions section. And then I'll delete them from where they were. Just to make the meeting notes a bit cleaner so when someone else sees them, it makes sense. Same thing with the action items. I might just copy and paste these from the middle and drop them in the action items section. That said, if it's going quickly, as long as I record it, that is what I'm concerned with, making sure this information gets into the system and worrying less about what does this look like and more about making sure I can get all the information. So this is my meeting note. I'm going to say this is good to go. I'm going to publish it. Here I can consider things like, do I need to restrict it? So if this coffee meeting was a very sensitive thing, I might edit the restrictions and only allow certain people to see or access this page. For this example, though, I'm just going to publish it. I don't feel I need to restrict this. Evelios, moving action items and decisions to the top. I like that idea. So if I go edit this, it sounds like what Evelios is suggesting is I should grab these sections and put them up here. Now, visually to me, this is annoying, so I might do another layout. And this is a great example of something you should consider on a regular basis. Like, is the layout of the meeting notes beneficial or useful for you or your team? And maybe someone in your team says, hey, it's confusing that decisions are hidden at the bottom. Can you move them? Now, Evelios, if I do this in this meeting note, I should also go do it in my template. And this is something I forget. I will do this in a meeting note, and the next time I use the template, it's in a different spot. So this is just one thing that when I consider how do I use Confluence for meeting notes and tracking knowledge, is I would go back into my space settings and then go update the template. So this is something I do on a super regular basis. There are a couple tricks, though, to speeding this up. I'm going to make... Good, I already have one. So I'm going to put my meeting notes under this general meeting notes page. And I'm going to change this page very quickly. Pretend none of this was here. A list of my meeting notes. Yay. And I'm very quickly going to make like an index. It just shows all my meeting notes. And so now if someone comes to this page, they'll see meeting notes. Great. I'm going to make this even more useful, though. We can add a button. Create Oop, where did it go? It's create from template, I think they call it now. There we go. There is a macro that lets us add a button that will generate a new page based on some kind of template. Andrea, I'm going to grab that question and save it for about 5 minutes from now, if that's okay, my friend. But that is a very good question. Now, I'll have to go find the template. And because there's so many templates, this can take a little while. I think it was meeting notes. I'll give it a default name. So it'll be like, maybe this is just for my coffee sponsor current date. And then the space I want it to go in. So I'll click preview. Oh, I need to give it a better name. Create new coffee sponsor notes. So another trick I've done, especially for team members who are less comfortable using Confluence, I'll just tell them, hey, go to this general notes page and just push this button. And that will make a new page for you with the appropriate template. And so this is one way, and you notice that action items and decisions are at the bottom because we didn't fix the template. This is one way to speed up my own process. It's put in the correct spot. It's made as a child page under general meeting notes, and it uses the template that I want people to use to help speed up their process. So this is a great way for that to work. Ronnie jumping in with the macros, love it, or the add-ons. This is one great way to speed up my, hey, I need a note right now process. Now, there's another way we can automate a lot of this, and this trick works mainly for scheduled meetings or recurring ones. But if we met about this coffee sponsor thing every week, I might just go make an automation. And if I remember where they are, so under my space settings, this little tiny 3 dots, the more actions, automations let us let the system do things for us. An example is make a particular page from a template at a certain point in time. Another one might be help me organize Confluence by getting rid of old content. Another one could be, if a certain person is the author, I want you to go do something. And actually, I already have an automation to create weekly meeting notes. I love this. So here we have an automation. It's saying every Monday at 9 a.m., maybe I'll get rid of this, make a new page for me. And I'm going to go find my meeting notes template. So this is the simplest automation that can do this. Every Monday at 9 a.m., so before my meeting, go make a page called, let's say, what was it? Coffee Sponsor? Coffee Sponsor Weekly Meeting Notes and today's date. And make it in this space and use this particular template. So I do this, create a page from a template. I'll go back from scratch, Dave. I happen to have this one that existed. Return to rules. Here we go. So up in the top right, create rule, create from scratch. And that first trigger is a schedule. So triggers are what tells the system to do the thing. I might trigger it based on a page being edited or something being archived or a blog comment. You can see all of these different ones. Thank you, Frank, for clarifying. Dave, that's a button. I'll jump right back to that directly after this. So here I'm just looking for the scheduled trigger. And I can tell it when to run. Maybe every Tuesday, Monday, or Tuesday, Thursday, we have this. And then I'll just add an action, which I can publish a new page. I'll leave it as the same space. I'll give it some kind of name, my coffee sponsor weekly notes. I want to grab the template from the HeanTech space, and this is where it's important to remember templates live in a space. So I have to go find the space with the template I want, and then I just pick the template. I'll click next and turn on. And now every week when I set that, it's going to automatically drop in these meeting notes for me. So this is another way, if you have a recurring meeting, that you don't have to think too much about what do you need to do. Confluence can just do it for you. So every week you'll log in and this will just be there. You can do a lot more with automations. This is just a simple way for the meeting notes for something to quickly go. I'm going to shift into Q&A mode, Dave. I'll start with yours just because I'm right here. I'm going to edit this page. And this is just a macro called create from template. So I can add this button to make a page anywhere just with a /. And I just typed in create from template. And it's this option. Again, this should be available in every flavor of Confluence. But this is a great way to speed up your team because it's just going to exist as a button. Other questions I've got. Let me make sure I can read the questions. An excerpt appear. I have not. Have you seen an excerpt appear as one character wide when the remove title and frame box is checked? I have not, but I will follow up in Discord with that one. So if I can't answer a question right now, check out Discord for answers. Can we use the import option to create custom templates? So when we first make a page, we can actually pull in on something else. We can import information. So here I have a page, and up in the top right, I'm going to click on Templates and Import Doc. Now, this lists all of my templates, and there's a little submenu, Import, that's very easy to miss. I can use this to pull in a Word doc, a Google Doc, or a OneDrive file in here. I haven't used this to templatize something, but one way to answer this question is, yes, I could have a Word doc that is my template, and then every time I need to use it, I just import it. I can't from the templates menu do that though. So I could import the Word doc as a page, copy everything, go up to space settings, go into my templates. This is a very long way to do this. Open up look and feel, open up templates, make a new template, and then paste everything in. But there's no option from here that I can import that file. I'd have to go to a page, import it, copy it, and then paste it in here, which is oof. Blueprint report. Frank, if you could provide more context on where that is, my friend. Can we merge meeting note templates with AI notes? So I've mentioned AI a bit and other folks have. Again, my personal preference is to take my own meeting notes just so I stay active and engaged in the call. And this is true even if there is a meeting notes AI bot helping me out, because I want to stay engaged and then I get both notes. Great. That said, Confluence, you might work with other tools like I think Firefly is one, Zoom has one, Loom also has one. And I mentioned Loom specifically because it is an Atlassian product and it does natively integrate with Confluence very well. I have only just started using Loom to start pulling in information to Confluence. But you'll see it show up under top right under record. I can add information directly here. And you can, if you have, I think it's the business tier of Loom, you can also pull in and summarize meeting notes as a page in Confluence or as Jira work items. So if you're using Loom to record meetings, it's very easy to integrate into Confluence and drop a page worth of information, or into Jira and drop in a bunch of work items. So that is one quick way if you have Loom. If you have other tools, I'm unaware of any way to connect. I'll use Firefly AI as the example. I don't know how to connect Firefly AI automatically into Confluence. I imagine there is something you could do with a complex workflow that uses webhooks or other integrations to do it. And that might be a great question in Discord to see if some of the smarter people and I can figure it out. Ah, gotcha, Frank. So Frank's pointing out at Data Center DC is a different version of Confluence, essentially, that will have different options. Um, I like how that exists. Victoria, I'm sorry you can't record your meetings because of privacy or whatever. And that's where your organization may have its own decisions and policies around using these tools. Is there an add-on to have a macro about who RSVP'd to a meeting? Um, I don't know. Add-ons are honestly one of my weaknesses, and that's because I am typically not the org admin. I'm not the person who can install add-ons, but I'll see if I can find one. It sounds like what you're asking is if I go into a meeting in Google and sign up, can I automatically add people in here somewhere? And that would be, like, as a participant, that would be very interesting to see if we could do. Technically, I can see how it can work. I'm just unaware of any way to do it directly. This reminds me, I did mention showing how to get decisions. So I have decisions on some of my meeting notes, and there is a decision report macro. I'm just going to insert it here to demonstrate what it can do. And I can see right away that Dave will be our sponsor. Thank you, Dave. And I can see the page that information was recorded on. So I have some traceability. Now, if I go in and edit this, I have some options. I can control where it's looking for decisions. By label is one great way. So as I'm making my notes, I might include coffee as a label, and that means I can then filter and only show decisions related to coffee. Beth, I assume you were referring to Loom. Loom, separate tool. You don't have to have Confluence open to have the Loom AI record a meeting. So if it's tied into, say, Zoom, it can just run on its own. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have Confluence open. Sorry, Dave. That's going to stick, my friend. All right, folks. I've got a few more slides. Going to teleport us back in. This QR code will take you to a course I have on Confluence over on Udemy. I have a number of recorded learnings over there on a wide range of topics, HR data analytics for beginners, Confluence. This one in particular is a 4-hour course. It covers a lot of what we spoke about and a lot more. It digs into being a space admin. It talks about Atlassian intelligence. It helps you understand everything that I wish I had known when I started, so you can be as successful as possible. So if you're interested, take a look, or if you have team members who might benefit, I'll drop this in there. See, Dave, it's coming right back for you. And this is a discount code, so you'll get a bit of a price break if you choose to use this one. Oh, I'm missing some chat. There we go. And just some, oops, wrong button. Just some tips and next steps. We spoke a lot about, Confluence and note-taking. This is by no means everything to know about Confluence or using it for note-taking. So please review the recording, like if you just came in now and missed it. But look at my other content as well. Look at other people's content too. Rodney mentioned this thing called the Jira Life. Great. There are other people out there you can learn from, including me. The point is to get as much perspective as you can so you know how the tool works. And there is no real wrong way to use it. And that, for me, is the great, interesting part. I get to learn different methods and ways of using it. For example, the blueprint report that Frank mentioned in Data Center. I didn't know that existed until now. So, Frank, thank you for helping me become a little bit better today. But get hands-on. The best way to learn is by doing this stuff. So please take a minute, even right now if you have it, to go into Confluence and make some meeting notes. Or maybe next time you're on a live stream with me, use a Confluence meeting notes template to take your notes about the live stream. I actually should have asked people to do that at the start. I'll have to write that one down. Please shoot me an email, though, robert@heen.tech. If you have specific questions, I'll be happy to help out. And then again, check us out in Discord. I've got a link there in the chat for y'all. That is a great place to go for just regular connection. Anthony, you're welcome. Anthony, I'm curious why you call me R2. That was a nickname I had at one of my first jobs because we had 2 Robs, and I was the one hired second. I've got a hard hat somewhere with R2 on it. But I do want to thank you all for sticking around for an hour. We talked about meeting notes, like a very boring topic, and 70 of you decided to learn that with me. So thank you so much for staying with me. I'll keep the stream open for a bit. I'm going to go through and just make sure I didn't miss any questions. But if you have last-minute questions, drop them in the chat. Join us in Discord, shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to follow up. Otherwise, tomorrow I've got a session on the ACA 915, which is the Confluence Cloud Fundamentals. So how does cloud work? Um, oh, gotcha. Um, I don't communicate in sassy beeps and boops, Kyther. I'm sorry. I've got a live session tomorrow. Next week, I'll be a bit quiet. I'm going to be doing a summer camp with my kid. So you'll see me Monday and Friday, but nothing Thursday. But I'll be back in full force the week of the 16th. So thank you all again. Please share what you know. That's kind of the last takeaway. Tell someone at your org, in your office, whatever, what's going on. Clay, thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you appreciated it, my friend. You're welcome, Barb. Hopefully they are getting better. And as you find more ways to make them even betterer, let us know. Dom, you're very welcome. Good to see you. Liz, my pleasure. Beth, glad I could have another great one for you. Scott, you're welcome. Thank you, Chad. That is not the summer camp, Frank. I'm sorry. Thank you, Liz. I will have an interesting time. We'll see how it goes. Dave, looking forward to that coffee. Speaking of, I have some coffee right here I should drink. And folks in LinkedIn, please use those comments. I see a lot of my own questions, but I'd love to hear yours. Evelios, I'm looking at going to Team Europe, so if you happen to be there, I'll see you. Otherwise, I'll be a little bit more active in the stuff in the Bay Area. You might see me come to some of the sessions, but I need to figure that out. All right, folks, if there's no further questions, just want to thank you all again. I really enjoyed these sessions. I cannot do them without you, so please let me know how else I can make them useful for you, beneficial, interesting, exciting. I'll put one last link to that feedback form. Otherwise, I'll play our outro video for just about a minute, and then I'll see you all next time. So thank you again, and I'll see you here again soon.